We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。
Halftime between the Rajasthan Royals and the Mumbai Indians. That's 3 games in a row now with the teams batting first have scored 171. It was enough by 1 for Bangalore against Delhi in Ahmedabad. Yesterday it was far too little for Delhi against Chennai. But let's see how it goes for Hyderabad against Chennai. But let's see how it goes today for the Rajasthan Royals in an afternoon game. This is Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. Before we begin our cricket chat with Dan Vettori and Dale Steyn, a message to all our viewers, especially in India: do mask up in public, follow social distancing and self-sanitizing protocols, and if you are eligible, please do take your vaccine as soon as possible. Right, Dan and Dale are here, and at halftime on the evening show yesterday, Dan didn't know what 171 was like at halftime. He said it's a nothing sort of score. What sort of score is it today in an afternoon game, Dan?
I think it's a nothing score as well. I think they stalled Rajasthan. They had the platform early on, and then Dubé's innings, 35 off 31 balls, really just stopped any momentum they had. So I think Mumbai will walk off the park thinking this is a really good wicket. We obviously know Kotla is such a small ground, and 6s and 4s can really dictate the game, and they have a batting order that can chase down a 170 quite comfortably, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked for the first half of that innings, at least, Dale, that they were set for so much more.
Yes, Sanju looked like he was set. He could have gone. He just batted easily. Butler looked good. But Shivam Dube just struggled. He just, I watch him there, no real foot movement, does struggle. I was with him at RCB last year, does struggle to kind of rotate strike, relies on boundaries to keep his innings going. But, if you're hitting one boundary every 10 balls or 12 balls, then you're just going to keep your strike rate at about 100, 110, and that's not good enough. If you're looking at who the 2 better batters are between him and Miller's probably the better batsman, and they do the similar kind of job. Probably the wrong choice in sending in Shivam ahead of David. Probably give David that opportunity to go out there and bat. He is the better batsman, in my opinion. Shivam standing there trying to look to clear that leg and hit boundaries is fine at the back end of the innings. But if you're going to give him time and he's only going to strike at 110, you're going to always end up 20 runs short. And that's what they probably are tonight, 20 to, I don't know, maybe even 25 runs short tonight.
Yeah, that's the innings too, just to put under the scanner. Shivam Dube, 35 of 31. Now, they've given him that job to bat at 4, Dan. And they've backed him at 4 in a number of games. Now, he's had a few scores without actually looking great so far. Now, is this just a call that's gone wrong in having Dube bat 4 and Miller 5? Or are you okay with the call to back a youngster and it's just sort of not coming off?
I think Shivam Dube is probably past that youngster tag. He's been around for a while. He's obviously played international cricket for India. And it feels like they've put him up the top of the order to try and get him going. He struggled in the first part of the tournament, and I think he's had that one good innings. So it feels like just a strategic call to say Shivam Dube is important. We need him as an all-round player within the team, and maybe number 4 is the spot to get him started. But that's at the sake of Dave Miller, and like Dale said, Dave Miller's been a proven performer in IPL cricket. And Rajasthan are at the point of the season where they just have to win games. They can't worry about anything else. And I think David Miller gives them more of an opportunity to do that at 4 than Shivam Dube would.
Let's also consider decision-making from franchises at different stages of the innings. And at the 10-over mark, when you've got a platform, RCB seem to have taken a different call, Dale. They're saying AB de Villiers will bat 5, we'll have Maxwell up, and maybe one Indian domestic player bat above. At times, though, when you want that guy to also do a job for you at an appropriate enough time to also get out and give someone in the dugout who is going to impact the game. Now, I wonder what franchises think or feel when that sort of innings is going on. Samson's hitting it well. Dube is struggling. You've got Miller. But what do you do to try and maximize or try and fix the situation?
This is a conversation we're going to have on Mute Me, I think, where we can have that replacement, like where we can put up a thing and say, okay, retired out. We're pulling you out. Whereas the fielding team are quite happy to, just keep it going. But You got to feel for Shiv a little bit. I feel like he tried. He was trying. You can see it wasn't like he wasn't trying to get going. Similar to David Warner last night. He was just trying and trying and trying. When he did get it right, he does hit the ball out of the ground. But his touch game seems to kind of go away, and he starts to focus on really just looking to hit boundaries. I very rarely saw him there trying to use the pace of the ball to beat third man or to beat point. Good left-handers like a David Miller, Albie Morkel that jumps to my mind. When guys go full at them, they cut the ball really nicely. Even Dan, I remember Dan in the semi-final World Cup there when he cut me in that last over, beating third man and point, using the pace of the ball. Shivam looking to hit mid-wicket the whole time. When he misses it, there's fielders there. There's guys on the boundary, deep mid-wicket, cow long on. They kind of stop it. So I got to feel for him a little bit. But, the better batter should have been Miller. He should have been in. And I've kind of forgotten what your question was.
Yeah. No, I saw you going there with the thought. The semi-final just brought back such bad memories. So maybe that's why you lost your chain.
No, but tears,
I remember
this
that.
Is the greatest moment of my, this is the greatest moment of my cricketing career. Dale Steyn complimenting my batting. So this is.
We played a test.
I don't need anything else.
You remember that test match at Supersport Park? You actually you got 50. It was a long time ago. Jeepers. I think it was like my third or fourth test match. Yes, you scored some runs there too. Just cutting the whole time. Actually, you were a good batter, Dan. You were better.
It's a version of a cut.
All right, I'll come back to the question. Fun as this was, on the subject of calling a batsman back in, and we discussed it last year too. The Rahul Tewatia innings became the sort of focal point of how a batsman can come back even if he's struggling. If he hits 3 or 4 sixes, suddenly the innings looks good. Ravindra Jadeja did it the other day against Bangalore. But where do you stand on this, Dan? Because at times these innings can significantly impact the overall innings, and they could effectively be the difference between winning and losing. Can you call a batsman back?
It's a tricky situation, I think, because as you say, it can backfire on you. You can have a person like Tewatia who can get through those initial tough stages and then produce an amazing innings. I think the reason that Dubé struggles, and Dale picked up on, is that he's only looking for one shot. And I think when you see that from the sideline, you see a batsman in that frame of mind, then maybe that is the time that you want to call them back, because they're not looking at anything else apart from trying to hit a six. And when it misses out, it's a dot, it's a one off the pads, and all that pressure starts building up. When you see a batsman who has a range of shots and they just need some time to get into the game, get a feel for the pace of the wicket, and then they can go, then that's the judgment call you have to make as a management if you do go down that line of being able to call a batsman back in.
Dale, where do you stand on this? Is it time for T20 cricket to detach emotion from it, detach ego from it, and purely look at it as tactics? Any number of sports use substitutions tactically.
I think we're going to get there. I think T20 is the one form of the game where we can really change rules, and we've got free hits in the game, and there's I'm sure at some point this is another thing on Mute Me that we'll get to, is probably double plays. We can really tinker with this game, and I think at some stage there might come a point where the management will be sitting there, the coach and the captain will be sitting there looking at a particular player and going, well, we need this guy in right now. We need this guy in. It's the last over. He's our big hitter, and we might get there. Who knows? We're always messing with this game, but it would be interesting to see if we did bring that kind of rule into play.
It'd be a lot of fun being coach or captain, and what's the signal to bring someone in, and then you don't want to make eye contact with that batsman who's coming back in. That would be that would be a challenge as a coach or captain.
Don't you find it interesting that the provision already exists? It's not like you have to create a new provision. Retired out exists as a concept. But it's not like there's something similar for a bowler who's bowled 3 bad balls or 4 bad balls, and suddenly the captain says, tactically, I'll have someone else bowl that. Harshal Patel's gone for a no ball 6. You say, no, I'll forget it. Let me try somebody else. But it exists in cricket for a batsman. Dan?
Well, yeah, it exists, but I don't think it's ever been utilised, has it? I think that next step is just not in a... The confidence isn't there to follow through with that, because of what we talked about around coaches, captains, management want to back a player to actually get the job done. And if you make that decision to retire someone out, what effect does that have on them as a player on the rest of their season. And so you may utilise it for someone down the order a little bit, but if you utilise it around a number form batsman like Shivam Dube was tonight, then that's a slippery slope in terms of confidence.
And this has nothing to do with the individual, Dale. I mean, David Warner struggled yesterday. The best in the world could possibly struggle. But can you normalize the use of something like this? Should franchises consider this, or should the game consider this now?
I think somebody like maybe Ravichandra Ashwin, when he becomes a coach, could consider something like that. You know, he's always up for the rules of the game. He utilizes the rules of the game, which is what he does. He mancats people, and they're all within the rules of the game. And if he feels like that's the call that he needs to make, he could do that. You know, so you might find players that are now playing are becoming accustomed to things like man-cads and that kind of stuff. They might go on to become coaches and actually utilize this more than current coaches right now. But yeah, you got to feel for people's mental state. I know Shivam, he does get a little bit hard on himself when he doesn't do and perform as well as he wants to. If you had to have called him off the field today, you might not see him perform for the rest of the tournament. So probably not a good time right now to bring that kind of thing into the game.
All this is, of course, under the assumption that the coach still gets to decide these things. Imagine if it's the captain batting in the middle. If you're a Dhoni who's on a 30 or 35, you can't be Stephen Fleming saying, come on in.
You just say, get off get off my field.
Okay, well, this is nothing against Shivam Dube. This is about a general concept of a batsman that can get stuck, and you do have resources. You end up going what we think is short, but they've still got about 170 odd. As things turn out, though we haven't perhaps spoken enough of Mumbai's bowling, but we possibly should. Rahul Chahar with a couple of wickets, and he continues to have a big impact. We're looking at wrist spinners having a lesser and lesser impact than this season. We spoke of Yuzvendra Chahal while we were doing a recorded preview to tomorrow's game. More and more teams were, inclined to not play their leg spinner in Mumbai. Rahul Chahar quietly has continued to have a big impact this season as a wrist spinner.
Yeah, and you saw the value of a leg spinner in terms of that. Well, a good leg spinner and a confident leg spinner. Again, hit for 6 by Butler was going to put pressure on him, and then his ability to still toss it up and bring Butler down the wicket and obviously spin it past him and stump him. And that potentially was the turning point in the whole game. And that's what a leg spinner brings to a table, brings to the game. And he's shown that quite a few times this season. I think it's 4 for in the second game, turned around for Mumbai. So he is still a confident leg spinner. I think Chahal's the same as well, even though he hasn't had the performances so far. A confident leg spinner who has the skills is invaluable in a T20 game because they get good players out. And getting good players out can change a game quickly like we saw today.
Yep. I'd just like to read a stat because there's no point putting a question to it anymore. It's like reading Rashid Khan. You just read Jasprit Bumrah, Dale, 4 overs, 1 for 15. I just keep reading this.
No, he's amazing. We don't need to. You don't even need to talk about him. He's incredible. And he just slipped under the radar. Actually, tonight I only noticed that he had only gone for 13 runs or 12 runs, whatever it was, when he was like midway through his fourth over. Then I realized, wow, this guy's actually bowled incredibly well tonight. You're always taking note of guys like Bolt and everything like that. And Bumrah's a big name, but he just, in terms of economy, he was amazing and just made it so difficult for Shivam there at the end. You can see, beat him for pace, kind of clothed it in the air, got caught. He was incredible tonight. Yeah. Or today, not even tonight.
We expect this to be a straightforward chase then, Dan, Dale, backing Mumbai?
I think from what we saw yesterday in the game and how once that total was on the board and they understood the wicket, they chased it pretty comfortably. So Mumbai's batting lineup, led by their openers, I think has a chance to do this relatively easy.
I can see Hardik Pandya already with his gloves on and just walking around the boundary. So he's set and ready. I don't know if he always wears his gloves and is ready at the start of a Mumbai Indians innings. But Dale, you'd go with that, Mumbai Indians, for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rajasthan will put up a fight. Chris Morris is somebody that is always up for a fight. He's already running around that dressing room clapping, "Come on, boys, this is more than enough" kind of attitude. But Mumbai, I think this is the exact amount of runs that they would want to have chased. So they'll be comfortable. All
right, thank you very much, Dale. Dan, pick up the conversation at the end of this game. Both teams are level on points. So this is an important game in the context of the tournament for both Mumbai and Rajasthan. And given they've moved venues, they have a few games now at Delhi. Let's see who picks up the points first. Do join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. And of course, viewers in India, just a quick reminder again that these are testing times. So do mask up in public, follow social distancing and self-sanitizing protocols. And if you are eligible, please do take your vaccine as soon as possible. You can also catch all the Vivo IPL highlights and live action on Disney Plus Hotstar. We'll see you at the end of the game. We'll also build up to the evening game at Ahmedabad with Dale and Dan.
We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる